Doc Loves the Kids, a local Kitsap County nonprofit organization established in 2015 whose mission is to provide activities, programs, and community support for at-risk youth.
They put the U in community.
Doc Loves the Kids.
Welcome to Uncommon Courtesy,
where we give you the courtesy of conversation
that's uncommonly spoke of.
I'm D-Mac.
I'm Wesley.
And this is the show. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to catch us every Sunday at 1 p.m. on our Sunday Town Hall and every Friday at 7 p.m. at our Friday Fix. Thanks, everybody, for viewing with us. It's been a pretty crazy weekend going on here. I'm going to start. U.S. and Iran-backed Houthis both vow escalations after airstrikes target rebels in Yemen. United States and Iran-backed Houthis rebels in Yemen are both vowing escalations after the U.S. launched airstrikes to deter and rebels from attacking military and commercial vessels on one of the world's busiest shipping corridors. We're not going to have these people controlling which ships can go through and which ones cannot. And so your question is, how long will this go on? It will go on until they no longer have the capability to do this, Secretary of State Marco Rubio told CBS on Sunday. He said that these are not the one-off retaliation strikes the Biden administration carried out after the Houthi attacks. So the Houthis have said that after they were attacked, they fired 18 missiles at the U.S. Theodore Roosevelt. No, which ship was it?
Yeah, this is not really the first time they've actually been doing. They've been doing this for years. This has been going on for a very long time. The Houthis have been, they're a Iran-backed rebel group out of Yemen. Yemen's been having these kind of separatist groups for years, but they've been going through years of famine. Before they were going through famine, they've been going through a lot of different problems. The problem with us attacking them is that sometimes when you break it, you buy it. That's just kind of how the world is. No one wants to send troops into Yemen because once you send troops in there, you own the situation. And it's a pretty bad situation. There's several different groups inside of Yemen that are actually, I think they even have a Saudi-backed group in Yemen. They have a few other, I think one of the other countries over there, maybe it's UAE or Qatar, has a group that they're backing, a separatist group. So this is just the separatist group that's in the western part of the country that's over by the Red Sea right there in the Sinai Canal. I believe that kind of goes in through their Suez Canal. Maybe it's the Suez Canal. Sorry about that. It's the Suez Canal on the Sinai Peninsula, and it's like I think that's the something of Aden. I think that's the Gulf of Aden or somewhere around there, somewhere around that area. Those are very crucial shipping lanes in order for Europe really just ships a lot of its goods through there, whether they're coming importing or exporting, and kind of get to India, Asia, the whole entire Asian continent over there. They're getting a lot of their goods through there, or they're going to have to go around the Horn of Africa, which would take them weeks more. So this is a crucial shipping lane. This has been a problem that's been ongoing for a long time.
Yeah. They said, Rubio said over the past 18 months, the Houthis have attacked the U.S. Navy directly 174 times and targeted commercial shippings 145 times. And my bad, I got the ship wrong. It's the U.S. Harry S. Truman that they've been shooting at. But yeah, we've seen reports we've kind of reported on a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They've been shooting missiles at us. You know what I'm saying? And Biden did his response, but Trump, this finally happened under Donald Trump. And Trump ain't no punk. So he's like, hey, I'm going to show you what it is. But this is going to escalate further. Iran said, hey, we're not going to negotiate with you about nothing. Do what you got to do.
This is, it's been going on under his watch too. This has been going on for a long time. It's not just been Somali pirates that have been over in that area, harassing ships in that shipping lane. And really, the Houthis have really just started really striking more because of what happened on October 7th with the whole Palestinian attacks that they've been doing over in Gaza, just basically the mass killings that they've been doing in Gaza. They pretty much said, hey, until you guys stop doing this, Israel, we're going to attack all U.S. and Israeli ships that come through here. And they've been holding up to their word. I mean, they haven't had very many hits that we know of, but they're attacking. And so I think the United States, I think also Europe, NATO has ships over there that are kind of like, shooting down the rockets that are being fired. But this is going to go on further and further. If he escalates this further than just strikes, targeted strikes, it could get really bad because the situation for people in Yemen economic situation is very dire. They just probably I don't want to. Some years ago, they had extreme famine. This is not something that we want to be dealing with as Americans. We don't want to be, but it would be worse than Afghanistan. It'd be worse than Iraq for us.
I mean, people are starving over here.
Now, I get it. What I'm saying is we don't want to own that situation. Yeah. We don't want to put our troops there. Now we have to help feed them. Because if they're starving and they're going through whatever, and people can just put guns in there, and we got our troops sitting there like, basically like sitting ducks. That's a bad situation. It's like troops sitting in the middle of your street and you're starving in your home, but you got a gun and you don't like these people anyways being on your land. You can just attack. They call that insurgency. Crazy things. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see what happens. Rubio said South Africa's ambassador to the U.S. is no longer welcome in the country. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Friday that South Africa's ambassador to the United States is no longer welcome in the country in the latest Trump administration move targeting the African nation. Rubio, in a post on X, accused Ibrahim Rasool of being a race-baiting politician who hates President Donald Trump. Rubio declared the South African diplomat persona non grata. Neither Rubio, who posted as he was flying back to Washington from a group of 7 foreign ministers meeting in Canada, nor the State Department gave any immediate explanation for the decision. But Rubio linked to a story by the ultra-conservative Breitbart News site talk Rasool gave earlier Friday as part of a South African think tank's webinar in which he spoke about actions taken by the Trump administration in the context of the United States, where white people soon would be no longer in the majority. Both Trump and his ally Elon Musk, who grew up in South Africa, have criticized the country's black-led government over a new land law they claim discriminates against white people. It is highly unusual for the U.S. to expel a foreign ambassador, although lower-ranking diplomats are frequently targeted with persona non grata status. Let me start by saying this. There's some other things I might go back over and read, but what happened to the DEI and all this other stuff when it came to everyone else? But now all of a sudden your discrimination thing is like, it's when it comes to people who are of European descent. I don't even like to say white. There's no country called white in the world. I don't know any country called white. Do you? I wonder where you can go in the world and say, hey, what are you? And they're going to say white besides the United States of America. Because most other people are going to say they're French or German or British or whatever else.
You got to say you're American.
I mean, they're going to say they're American, but they'll say they're white Americans or whatever. They're really European Americans.
Well, the whole thing, it starts with, when you're allowed to like rule over people for hundreds of years and you grow up with that mindset where it's like, we're better than all these people who are doing this. And then you see that slip away where everyone has to be equal. If you don't have a leg up, it's kind of hurting you anyways. Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why they got rid of the DEI, because they're like, all right, now we have to. I mean, DEI was weird. That came after George Floyd, which was kind of weird anyways. I'm like, it didn't affect me. You know what I'm saying? But like, I remember I got my job driving buses because, they had to have so many black people there, you know what I'm saying, to get federal funding.
So did it affect you?
Well, I had to learn that afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Well, that never.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it indirectly, but directly affected you because you may or may not have gotten this job based off the fact that they needed more people of color.
Well, that's they just needed drivers. Like, I mean, if I would have applied for the job 5 years before, they would have been like, nah, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to do it. But now it's like they're so desperate, they'll take anybody. You know what I'm saying? So gotcha. I'm not saying it was a horrible employee. I did that shit for like years. You know what I'm saying? But
the bigger thing too is like we're kicking out this guy basically for stating the truth, the obvious. What we've all been saying, what we've all seen in this country from these people. They have a preferential, view of their own kind. It shouldn't be an issue, but it is when it's the top of your government and those same people are no longer going to be in the majority. It's like you're watching us become Motorola. They stuck to the flip phone, the Razor. They stuck to these things. So no, we don't want an iPhone. We don't want any kind of smartphones. We're not going to do those. We're going to leave those up to iPhone. Now now Motorola's finished. That's what we're trying to become. We're trying to stick to being who we were as a nation. When those days are over, the days of Europe ruling the world is over. We're watching the world mature right in front of us. We don't want to do business with people on the same level. We think that we're greater than when we're seeing nations blossom into their own, into their own. So do business with these people for who they are, not who you feel like they should be.
Yeah. You can't put your thumb on the rest of the world anymore. I mean, you can try to bomb it in back to whatever, but I mean, what's happening is happening. But like I said, a lot of people, I told you, a lot of people feel they'd rather burn the world down than give it back to the other people.
I mean, it's like at the end of the day, we have to remember that everything runs in cycles. Like we just were born in a cycle where we're watching people who are from Europe, like have the majority of the wealth in the world right now. We're in that time frame. If you go back to the 700s to 13, 1400s, there was a time that the Moors who were black, who were from Africa, black people from Africa ran Spain. They invaded, they took over. These are verifiable facts.
Man, you can watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It's an old movie made back in the 90s with Kevin Costner, right? But Morgan Freeman was in there. And he was like, what are you? He's like, I'm a Moor. He's like, Moor of what? He's like, no, it's a Moor. It's what they call me. And he had so much kind of technology. I don't know if you remember that movie, but like the people are riding up on him with horses. And he's like, Kevin Costner's like, what's going on? And Morgan Freeman takes these two glass balls, rolls them up in a map, and he makes a telescope. And Kevin Costner's looking at it with the sword, trying to stab him through the telescope and shit. Like, the Moors, they brought knowledge and stuff to the world to their detriment. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. I mean, that's great. That's great insight to even put for the situation. So we have to start looking at the world a little bit differently. We look at the world for only what we can see today. We have to look at the world.
My bad to cut you off. People look at the world of what's in their town.
Yep.
Most people don't care about how the rest of the world is going on. They just, and that's why then they get online and they because you have a lot of people, they're not even affected by most of the stuff that's happening right now. They live in their small little town, their small little house. They watch the news and they get upset about stuff that doesn't affect them. I mean, it's going to affect you now. You know what I'm saying? Because everything's going to go up. I was at our local Fred Meyer, bro. The whole egg section used to be packed. Now it's like a little section of eggs and then they put bacon over there.
To make it, to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
But it's just to me, this is a very serious thing because what they're doing now, they did it over for the Columbia student. They went ahead and arrested him. He had a green card. Basically, the fact that if he spoke out against the country, or you got a green card, it's time for you to go. You know what I mean? Oh, now they're doing the same thing here with this diplomat who spoke. Oh, you hate America. No, we're telling you that you're having white supremacist views. You're telling them that you want to bring white farm. We're kicking out all these other people who are not from here. You're telling people who've come here legally as I think they came for amnesty. Who legally, you're telling them they have to go, but you want to bring in these farmers, white farmers, as you said, white farmers, because their land is being appropriated from them because they appropriated from someone else. They even appropriated, killed, took the land. Now these people are saying, you know what? We're going to take our land back. You guys have 80% of the farmable of the good farmland in Africa is owned by 5% of the population. Are you serious? You know what I mean? Like this is why these people have most of the wealth over there. What they're saying is, you know what? You invaded us, raided us. Now we're going to take back over and do what, we're 95% of the population here. We should have most of the wealth. But now our government wants to turn around and say, hey, those white farmers over there should be American citizens, but you want to kick out everyone else of color. That is racist. That's the definition of racism. He's making a list of 39 countries, and most of them, if not probably 90-something% of them, are countries of color. Period.
Yeah.
So I mean,
all of them except for like Russia.
I think maybe. Belarus is one of them that may not be. Belarus is the only one that may not be. The rest of them, Eritrea, all nations of people of color. You know what I mean? So I mean, he told the truth, and you didn't like it. You didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And so
Trump wields 1798 law to deport nearly 300 Venezuelans despite judge's order to block the action. President Donald Trump's administration deported nearly 300 alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tres de Argua under the Alien Enemies Act, despite a federal judge blocking the flight under the 1798 law last wielded during World War II. Chief U.S. Judge James Boasberg Saturday came after Trump issued a proclamation which he had signed the day before targeting the gang for immediate deportation under the 18th century law. Trump's order said the gang continues to engage in mass illegal migration to the United States to further its objective of harming United States citizens. The Alien Enemies Act allowed the deportation without a hearing of anyone from the designated enemy country who is not a naturalized citizen. The law has only been invoked 3 times while the country was at war to haste the removal of citizens of enemies of country. So the judge blocked it. The Republicans want to impeach the judge. Donald Trump said, I'm going to deport the people anyways, right? And you said J.D. Vance said...
J.D. Vance came out, I think it was 2021. He was like, if I was Donald Trump, I would just go ahead and do. I mean, I don't want to say this is not verbatim. Basically, I will go ahead and do what I was going to do. Have the judges go ahead and take me to court. Have the judges rule against me, and then do it anyways. And tell the judge, you know what? Enforce the law. Basically, what he's saying is like the judges don't have. What is he going to get off the bench and go and enforce the law himself? You have to have some type of either the military, the police, or someone to enforce the law. Judges don't. The judicial branch does not have that. So it takes the executive branch or the legislative branch to kind of enact those things.
And then you send it to the Department of Justice, which he runs. So the whole thing now, so folks, the reason we keep bringing this up, we've brought this up multiple times. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because nobody is safe under this law. They can pull you over and say, hey, I think you're part of this game. Watch till as soon as he puts it on the African nation, then they can start rounding up black folks. Because right now, this Venezuelan gang, they don't know, to them, they're Venezuelans. To the administration, they're all Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Hispanics. So they can round you up, lock you up without due process. I just read a story about a guy, he voted for Donald Trump. His wife got locked up and he couldn't find her for weeks because where she was held and they're giving no due process. They use this law to round up the Japanese. This is how Bainbridge Island became rich, because the people stole the land from all the Japanese people that used to own it. I'm telling you, folks,
wow.
Carry your ID on you. Tell your children to have your ID on you. They will come for you once you start talking bad about something.
I don't think IDs even matter, man. I think they can say, you know what, we're not going to recognize this. Let's go ahead and let the judge sort this out.
Looks like you're part of the gang. Looks like you bought the screwdriver for that gang, or you helped them, push their car off the street.
They don't even have to have a reason. They just taking you in. What he's asking for is the right to be able to do what he wants. He asking for wartime rights in peacetime. A lot of people from Venezuela, a lot of people who came here under a legal asylum request under Joe Biden's administration. They came here legally. You can come to this country and request asylum. You can do that and then sit and wait for your court date, which takes years. This is why they had that bill in place, bipartisan bill under Biden, to kind of expedite the process where people could get it done in 6 months. We could find out this, but who tanked it? Donald Trump. You know what I mean? So this is things like what he's doing right now is asking for wartime powers in peacetime. It's like he could almost ask for what is it called when when the police was it
martial law.
He can almost ask for something like that. It's like when you don't need it
if he wanted to. You know what I'm saying? He could be like, hey, we're under siege here by these migrants. That's what his plan to do. But I think he's trying to get everything in order to have the recession so the rich people can buy everything up. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why he's tanking the economy.
Someone else said the same thing too. You know what I mean? As far as what you're saying about, have tanked the economy so the rich can buy everything up again. Because they've already told us they want us to rent everything. This has already been said. It's been said several times. It's being done. I mean, it's actually being put into work. You look at Fink from I think it's Lawrence Fink or Larry Fink from BlackRock. He's already said it. He's already told us, hey, you guys will rent everything and you'll like it. You got JP Morgan. Making rental communities, building homes that will become rental communities that will never be able to be bought, only be able to be rented. And so, I mean, everything they're doing right here is they're telling us what's going on. They're telling us who it is. They're trying to play like this whole thing in Colorado is such a big deal to where he needs wartime powers in order to be able to enact. It won't just be asked for Colorado.
It's not going to stop either.
I mean, it's not even just he's asking for broad discretion. That's across the nation to start his mass deportations. First is to detain you. First, I can just detain you with no actual due process. I don't have to figure out anything. I can detain you. I don't have to talk to a judge. Nothing. Here you go, detain you. Then I'm going to start deporting you. And so who's going to get wrapped up in this? Oh, we're going to have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Guy said, so does that mean some people who are naturalized citizens who are born here are going to be getting wrapped up in this too? And they'll just have to say, hey, that's just part of the process. That's what we're going to be doing.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a lot of that. What's saying that they're not going to run AI through everyone's social media apps, see who's ever talked down or said some bad stuff and then round them up.
I do it all day long.
Yeah, the Minority Report. Hey, you have the views of a killer. I mean, they're going to start rounding up citizens.
Yeah.
And people are going to start disappearing.
Hey, I'm not going to say that you're 100% wrong about that, because we got to look at it from this perspective right here. Yeah. Columbia University expels students, revokes degree of Hamilton Hall takeover Gaza protesters. Columbia University has expelled some students for occupying Hamilton Hall last spring, school officials announced Thursday. In a university-wide email, Columbia said that the outcomes of a months-long investigation also included multi-year suspensions and temporary revoking of other students' degrees. Today, the Columbia University Judicial Board determined findings and issued sanctions to students ranging from multi-year suspensions, temporary degree revocations, and expulsions related to the occupation of Hamilton Hall last spring. Columbia is committed to enforcing the university rules and policies and improving our disciplinary process. Columbia became the epicenter for pro-Palestinian protests last spring when an encampment in support of Gaza launched copycat tent cities on American college campuses. The demonstration came to a head in late April as protesters took Hamilton Hall, damaging property, trapping custodians inside. One officer accidentally discharged a gun. The NYPD said students documented injuries among 9 of the dozen of protesters arrested inside the building. The university's escalation and disciplinary action comes as the campus tensions are at a recent high following detention of Mohammed Khalil, an international studies graduate student who served as negotiator during last spring's campus protests. Khalil, a green card holder, has not been accused of a crime. So basically, these guys are bending.
Well, I mean, what did people think was going to happen? Like, I mean, you're supposed to be able to protest and all this stuff, but now there's a new administration in. It's pro-Israel, like the last one was. But like the last administration was kind of holding them at bay a little bit, and Trump is in it for the money. It's whatever. So, I mean, this is the price of your freedom, folks. You tried to protest on behalf of a foreign nation because you were watching a genocide, but you don't understand that the country that's committing the genocide runs our country. We've seen them put millions and millions of dollars in the primaries. They've low-key off the president. You know what I'm saying? Took down a couple buildings. I mean, there are conspiracies. There's not conspiracy. These are, okay, let's say conspiracies of what these people are doing. They have 39 states in this country that have pledged to never talk down about this country, about this certain nation that runs our country. So this is the get back. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I told people during the George Floyd protest, don't let up. Next time you decide to protest on something, you put your fucking foot on somebody's neck until the job is done. Because when you let up, they destroy your future.
I mean, you have to look at it from this perspective as well. I mean, we had the leader of this nation on the floor of the Congress speaking to a joint session of Congress, calling United States citizens dumb and, fools and everything else. And, pretty much they signed a bill to limit our free speech in this country.
And the bill was so vague. And we talked about this before. The bill was so vague, they would have to take out parts of the Bible because it spoke bad about these people.
I mean, when you look at it throughout history, there's been a number of nations that have had run-ins with this nation. I mean, you have to look at with this country, with these people, I should say. You look at it, they don't tell you about a lot of things that happen. They don't tell you about how they, in Russia, these same people killed a bunch of people, from other countries in Russia. I mean, it's a lot of history you have to really go through and look at. We'll talk about it more later. This is not a disdain for these people. It's a disdain for the policies of their nation. Their prime minister or whatever, Benjamin Netanyahu. It's a hate for the fact that our government it bends over and allows this country to run our people. How do you start taking away degrees from people because they protested? College campuses have led the way in protests here for a long time. After the American Revolution, and a few other things, we had the Civil War, other things of that nature. College campuses have been pretty much the epicenter of change in this country. It's gone everywhere. The Arab Spring was started by a lot of college students and other things of that nature. I mean, let's just be real. This has been used for years because they understand that younger people are willing to get out there and do it. Everyone else has something to do tomorrow. Younger kids are going to say, you know what? We believe in this so great, we're willing to give our lives for it. And so, to me, man, it's a travesty that this is happening in our country. We're watching this happen. That another nation runs the United States, and they're allowing our colleges now to be run by the Trump administration, and they're able to pretty much dictate what goes on in our higher education, because these people don't even want education in our country at all. They would hate for your kid to be educated because that makes you a lot more, you have empathy, you understand. I mean, when you're educated, when you're not, you're just, oh man, you're a meme. You write memes, you call everybody a name. Everyone has something, you libtard. Something is always some type of a joke. It's always some kind of a ha ha ha. If you look at it like this, I mean, I've had a lot of people who like put emojis underneath, you know how you can like or dislike or make some kind of laughing remark. Most of those people are the ones who make the laughing remarks because they don't have a lot going on upstairs. They can't answer what you're saying. They're like, oh, I just think it's so funny you say this. You don't have anything going on. You do not want the conversation. You don't even want to talk about it because you don't have anything to talk about. Your brain's not adapt to these real subjects. You're just messed up in the head. And this is what we have running our country, man.
Yeah. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Uncommon Courtesy. We will see you next time.